Let's go.
In this episode, the boys continue their hunt for the mighty Barramundi in the Northern Territory. Welcome to my fishing place, the place to be, and there we were in the top end chasing Barramundi, and what a mixture of a few days.
There was some really high highs and some really low lows, and Dazza, day 3, you were at a pretty low spot.
It was. I got a couple of reasonable barra, but not over that metre that I was chasing. And I think I may have hooked one really close on that mark.
Oh, it was a metre all right. You can see it come out of the water.
I was casting these Z-Man 6-inch swimmers, and actually I had a couple of hits, but they were a little bit, I felt they were a little bit long, so I actually trimmed them up a little bit, and we, immediately after trimming that up and throwing it into this little creek junction where we were, I pretty much hooked up to a fairly sizable barra. It's not a small fish. Okay, he's going to go in a minute.
Oh, cracker! Bazza! Oh, no, still on. He's back there. That's how good Z-men are. They get hooked up twice.
But, unfortunately, during the fight, the leader gave way.
Were you warned about that prior? That's just a simple question.
Oh, I know, it's heartbreaking, but yes, I was using a certain leader that I like on the reef because it's probably a little bit more flexible than the stiffer mono, and it was a fluorocarbon leader. And the guide said, oh, I wouldn't use that.
I really don't like that leader. You shouldn't use it.
But I said, oh, look, it'll be okay.
Darren knows best.
Yeah, don't listen to the guide who catches barra all day, every day.
So, yeah, that may have been my undoing. And look, I wasn't really happy about the loss.
It was awesome. I'm filming on my iPhone, and I couldn't peel it away from your face because I just knew the rage was bubbling deep, especially when the mistake was one you were warned about.
One day, Darren, you'll get this big fish in.
Well done, Dad.
Well done.
Oh, well, very close. Not your fault.
High 90s, 102.
Anyway, we'll put that aside as maybe a learning curve.
Now, as devastating as it is to lose a big fish, I don't think it compares with the betrayal of someone you consider to be your friend. After a full 2 seasons of denial and blame shifting and accusation, we're on the trip and inevitably the topic comes up again. Who stole the chocolate? And Menzel drops an atomic bomb.
I gave the chocolate to Clint. What do you mean?
What? You're confessing?
Why not?
Menzel, so you're the thief?
After accusing me for 2 years.
I thought it was funny. It went on for 3 years.
He claimed responsibility.
You know, it's just so disappointing. You know, there is a lot of disappointing things, but a man like Menzel, he's a man among men. He's an honest man. He's an integrous man.
You'd say a pillar of the community.
You would, a pillar. And yet, it left a hole, there's no doubt about it.
It gets to a point where you have to let it out.
However, in the grand scheme of things, karma comes around, and that happened to Mark on the last day when he dropped what would have been a 1 metre 20 fish.
Oh, that was 50, 60 pounds.
That's a big fish. Oh, I just couldn't keep him out of there.
That was massive.
That's the biggest fish I've ever seen.
One of the biggest ones I've ever seen. That was like that. Did you see him or what? He was
it was huge.
he was that big.
He
man.
came out, his mouth was about this big.
Yeah.
Don't. Oh, don't. Don't film that.
Sorry, Mark. What goes around comes around. And next time, don't steal the chocolate.
No, we can't say that. We've just burnt poor Menzel.
After the break, the action heats up at Chaos Junction. And so the next day, after Daz's big loss up in the junction there, we just thought, you know what? That's a real hot spot for action. And when we were up there, like, you're looking at that colour line, that fresh coming down, it was just so fishy. So we thought, let's head up there the next day. So we head up to this little junction and we've done a few casts. I said, oh, there's got to be a fish there. So anyway, I cast it, lands in the water, then boom, fish on. And I'm just so pumped. Get it in the boat, and just as it gets in the boat, Keza goes, lands his Z-Man in the exact same spot.
Fish.
Oh, yes! Explosion. I'm going,
Big bugger. Big bugger. Big barramundi. Don't worry about this one.
Yeah, don't worry about that one.
the guide who was looking at my fish literally just throws it to the ground. Move over, Big Red. We've got a bigger fish coming in. And to me, there's a little bit of, you know, not much respect there. Like, I put my lure in the exact same place, put in a fish, and all of a sudden, it's a bigger fish, so that's more exciting. And so Kez is yanking in this fish, and I was like, what? Guide's going crazy to get this fish in.
Quick, get down the back, get down the back. It's a meteorite, it's a meteorite.
Is it?
Yeah. Why don't you... Ethan!
Far out, bro.
And Ethan, the youngest of the group, decides to take this opportunity to cast over the top of...
Straight over my line.
So the guy just goes, whoa, 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 whoa. So just panic.
They're coming up.
Hey, meteorite.
Meteorite.
Getting close, very close, very close. This one now.
Here's a solid. Yes! 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 Holy shit! That is massive. I get one, and then solid
Look
barra.
at that, where the Z-Man is.
And in the panic, I just remember sitting there dejected on the front casting deck, looking at my Barramundi that I've got fought so hard for while Kieran's pulling in a meteorite. Do you think I wanted to get it in? No, probably not.
It wasn't a meteorite, it was 98.
98. Okay, too. But however, I just felt a little abused at that situation. But you get that on the big job. So that was a little hot spot. It was a good spot.
I could not believe Ethan. Like, you got a, for all we knew it was a meter fish, and he just doo-dee-doo-dee-doo straight over the line. I was going to punch him in the head. Like, mate, fish on, you know? That casting etiquette just definitely comes up regularly in our little group because no one gives a stuff about anybody else's fish. We just want one on our own line, so.
But that was a good fish. But again, they
Great
just...
spot.
It's like, you know, a meteorite comes, a meteorite gets on a line or close to, and the guy just tunnel vision, get the fish, which is good for the clients because they get the meteorite fish.
Which we did get later in the day. We'd dropped a high 90s, and then I'd caught a 98, and then later in the afternoon we went back to that same spot. And if you remember, we were casting down to some trees, you know, just sort of at the back of the boat. And we'd been casting for a little while. And again, using the Z-Mans like these, we butchered these things to just get them to the length we wanted. You probably can't see, but I've just cut that with scissors. And just pop one down and next minute, fish on, you know. And he's come on up.
Big fish. Keep a good bend in that rod, eh? Like the meteorite.
Then the worst thing happened is he wraps around the prop.
I tried to find the keys to the ignition immediately.
Dude, the action station's trying to jam rods around and I'm trying to get it around the other way. And the fish sat under the boat. He just must have found the shade of the boat and he's just sitting there. Because I had no tension on the line other than what was on the prop, and we're messing around getting rods, and then finally we get it out and a little bit of pressure on the line and he takes off again. To the net.
What a
Simon, holy mate. Oh, yes!
What a...
Z-Man!
Oh, you won't believe it. Right, another 102.
And it was 1 metre too, so fully pumped. That's 2 metres for the trip up to that point, plus Ethan's, that's 3. That's a good trip. Like prior to that, we'd only caught 3 metre barra over, what, 10 years between us. And we had 3 in the boat for the trip. That was a really good spot.
After the break, we talk to the Top End's resident barra expert, Dwayne Truchet.
All right, we're going to give Dwayne from DNA Barra Tours a quick call.
This is what happens when we come with DNA barra fishing. We're sweating a lot. We're catching huge big barramundis. One of the customers wounded with a bird thumb. But hey, 2 metre fish in by lunchtime. DNA barra fishing.
I've been fishing with Dwayne for probably 15 years, does heaps of trips up with him. He's got me onto heaps of barra over the years. Always a laugh, we always have a great time together, and he's just a great bloke to fish with. Although, he has had a couple of run-ins with Big Red.
Yes.
There was a fishing guide. And he searched long and hard for one of these lures for 10 years. And he finally found one. So out comes to my fishing place, fellas. I said, all right, Big Red, you can have this one here called the Pink Parrot. Best lure ever. Guaranteed. Instantly. Big Red threw it in the tree and it sunk.
Clearly, I often get the blame for things that are not my fault. 2 lures actually came straight off the leader, as in, I cast a lure and I'm just going, wow, this seems really light. And one of these lures was the Pink Parrot, which I now have a brand new unopened packet of, and it wasn't I that tied the knot, was it?
No. No.
Gone. 10 years of work. Gone.
It's still a sore point. However, it was quite amusing since that time that we've learnt of Dwayne's love of Man's 10, we've started to collect a few on the board behind me. And anyway, we had been chatting on the boat and Dwayne was rather upset about my collection of Man's. And he said to me, well, you know, at least you'll never have a hot curry. So I got my phone and zoomed and I said, oh, this one. He goes, how on earth did you ever get a red curry Man's 10? And so, yes, every now and then I say the Indian driver's going to bring around some hot curry and deliver it to his letterbox. But that will never happen, because it's mine. Yeah, well there. I'm just going to use it for casting practice. I probably might even give it to my son to throw into some bag.
Let's give Dwayne a call.
Well.
Hello, this is our Darwin Indian restaurant. We've got a hot curry on order for you, sir. When would you like it? So what's going down in the NT at the moment, Dwayne? Many barra?
Oh, it's dry season, buddy. There's heaps of little baby barras around.
Yeah.
So you're telling us that there's small barra, it's good season for Big Red to be up there?
Well, yeah. Even he could, you know. I've seen him with lots of small barra actually. Besides that, but I haven't seen him with many big ones. But I've seen him with lots of little ones. Well, mate, all I can say is you have to just keep coming back and try again and try again and try again because everyone else in your family's done it.
Oh. We need an honest appraisal of the My Fishing Place team.
Don't be too honest.
Well, you know how it is. 2 out of 3. You know.
Well, can't leave Dazza out like that, Dwayne. I keep telling you.
You know how it is. Daz has been practicing with me for years and years and years. Like a little booklet of Darren's all lost barrels. I go to every other customer in every creek. I go, well, this creek here, this bloke Darren, he lost an absolute monster here. And then I go to another creek and I say, well, you know that same bloke Darren. Well, in his creek, he's lost an absolute monster as well. You know, and it just goes like every creek should be called Darren's Creek.
This is how you get customers to come back. It's not by catching them. It's not by catching them, it's the ones that you lose will bring you back. So, Red, you'll unfortunately be always coming back. Always.
Have you ever found a pink parrot at the bottom of the mini?
There's one there that I especially put on for a special customer.
Yeah.
and he lost the pink parrot. But that's all right because that customer has now searched long and far,
Yeah.
and he's going to replace what he lost.
Is he?
Yeah.
Mate, he'd have to be a good bloke, wouldn't he?
Well, I'm waiting. I've still been sitting out the front here every afternoon with the mailman, just waiting, and he just drives past my place again. Been waiting a while now.
I think the next free trip that it'll come, I think that man. Thanks, Dwayno. And
worries, buddy.
that's Dwayne from DNA Barra Fishing up north. Thanks, buddy.
See you guys.
After the break, we finish off the trip with a bang.
We'd been up there for a few days, a lot of meteries hooked, a few landed, but it had averted me. And I was trying so hard. And we're in this creek and it looked so fishy. There was so much bait, there was so many boofs, and here we are trolling. And I'd thrown out, Dwayne and I said, look, they've got to hit the green bomber. So we're putting out this green bomber and here we are trolling. I'm jigging my little heart out. And we've done a few laps and I've just been jigging. I leant back to Dwayne and I said, mate, how can they not hit this green? And it was on. What a great fight. And the snag, we're trying to get out from around the snag, jumping, in the bushes as a good meatery fish does. And so finally got it in, 1.6 meters, so
PB.
PB. Great way to end the trip for me on that day. I was happy then. I was ready to kick back, have a little snooze in the boat. I was done.
As you do.
Yes. Oh, that's a horse.
Big Red, where are you, buddy?
So on that same day, Dazza, I'd caught my meter 2, and then sort of the last little bit of the afternoon, there was already a little frustration at me on the boat, and we're trolling along, we're trolling up one of these creeks, and we're actually getting a few salmon. So I just had a gold bomber on and we just troll along, and we got to the mouth and I'm like, oh, fish on. And then I'm like, oh, there's a bit of weight to this one, And then he's heading out to the mouth, and I must admit I thought, this is a bit different. A little bit of a fight and then...
Oh, wow, okay.
Big silver flash out of the water. Lee just is like, no way, no way.
Let him run.
Yes!
Holy Moses! I cannot believe it.
I'm like, on. Salmon?
Crocodile.
Yeah, well, I thought it might have been a croc, but he was swimming a bit fast.
Ethan and I, just like, if we had a fork, we would have stabbed Kieran in the face. Because if not one metery, no, not two, but the third metery, and I kid you not, I also had a gold bomber. It had been that past that snag about 20 times, and Kieran pulls a metery.
It was right on the meter mark, 100. Got that to the boat, so I was like, this is the best trip ever. Oh, that's just uncanny. But damn, it was good fun. I'd only caught 2 in my whole life up to that point, and I got 3 in the one trip. So I think this season, when we went up, it was big barra.
Yeah.
It was big fish. We had the most bust-offs, we lost the most big fish, we caught the most big fish. It was almost like, almost everything that hit was just big. And man, it made for an exciting trip. Shortly after that trip up to the Territory, we actually lost our sister to a battle of cancer. And so we've actually done up some lures. We've got a pink MFP Reedies and a yellow one. Both these lures, all the proceeds, we've already paid for the lures, but any that are purchased off our website, all the proceeds go towards fighting the disease of cancer. The pink one we did up because it's a general colour associated with that. The yellow ones are probably a bit of a special meaning to us because we had a bit of a saying that Rachel's our sunshine. And so we did up a special Reedies in yellow. And obviously there are other families that are facing the same battle, and we'd love to do what we can to be a support to them. So if you get on our website and purchase either of those lures, we'd love to be able to contribute that towards battling something that's really taking the toll on people's lives.
In the next episode, the MFP boys head back to the Coral Sea.